The Chilean economy has fully rebalanced from the disequilibrium that was left after COVID-19, that we have our house in order. The economy grew to 0.6% last year, and that we are prepared to continue growing, but of course we are facing the risks that everyone does these days. But Chile appears to be better prepared on a number of dimensions to face that juncture.
All right, now be honest with this next question. You just heard Kevin Whitelaw talking about, does the rest of the world think the United States is nuts? That's a legitimate question.
It is.
Can I,
yes,
I use
know.
the Fifth Amendment?
Okay. All right. Since you're going to take the fifth on that, and by the way, I have to say, just parenthetically, on my bucket list is a visit to Chile.
Okay, well, you're talking to the right person, it looks like. Not me.
What is it? The driest desert in the world, I believe, right?
Yeah, sure. And but right now, that desert is home to
a very large telescope, appropriately named, among other things.
Yeah.
So for science geeks, that's the place to go.
Telescopes, wind power, mining, copper mining, lithium mining, all of that is in the Chilean Ocean.
Chile is one of the largest copper producers in the world, if not the biggest.
Lithium, too.
It's number one.
Can I talk to you about the dollar, the weakness in the dollar, and EM currencies like the peso have been on a tear. Your thoughts on the dollar weakness, and then whether or not you have to scale back purchases of U.S. debt as a result of that?
Yes, well, the way we see it is that, in the balance between the dollar as a refuge in terms of uncertainty and the issues that concentrate on risk coming from the U.S., the second is weighting more today, and that is what has been weakening the U.S. dollar.
So we mentioned the commodities that Chile produces, et cetera. Just how is that going? And I say that glibly, but what I mean is that the tariff negativity globally has disrupted a lot of investment decisions, disrupted a lot of long-term contracts or demand. What have you noticed?
Well, we have a very strong pipeline of investment projects in mining, particularly in copper. Those have multiplied by 5 for the next 4 years in the course of a little more than a year. Basically because the long-term price of copper is expected to remain pretty solid. And there will still be a lot of world demand for copper coming from electromobility, from technological changes, from construction in some countries. And actually the price of copper has remained pretty strong in the last few months, even in the face of the tariffs
Does
discussion.
where you send that copper from Chile, have that changed at all?
Well, our copper production in terms of metal as cathodes goes mostly to the U.S. We are the main supplier of copper cathodes to the U.S. market, and therefore a very important supplier of U.S. manufacturing. And the copper concentrate is basically demanded from China, given that China has the largest smelting capacity in the world.
Has the quality of the ore, have you been able to maintain that?
Well, a large part of investments are aimed at compensating for the decline in quality of ore as mines get older. So that means that in Chile we're planning to have a lot of investment. Part of that will compensate for that, and other part will increase the volume of production. We expect to grow production by 1 million tons from 2022 to 2030.
And the range of possibilities for the election, what there are elections at the end of the year.
At the end of the year,
What
yes.
does it mean for investors? Because there are the current president, your boss, her term is up, correct?
Yes, we don't have a re-election in Chile, therefore there will be a new president. But
the range of possibilities, what does that mean for investors?
Well, so far it looks like the investors are very positive about the sort of the structural strengths of the country. They don't see any major policy changes coming up in their areas, like in this case copper or energy or other key sectors in the Chilean economy. So in the last few days, we have had announcements of pretty large projects. Total announced a 16 billion project on green hydrogen and ammonia in the far south. We had Amazon Web Services announcing $4.5 billion in data centers. The digital industry infrastructure is growing pretty much in Chile as well.
How does that impact domestic inflation when you have a lot of industry then coming down?
Well, demand is pretty much in line to the economy growing more or less at 2.5%. Inflation is pretty much under control. We had some upward pressure coming from the normalization of electricity tariffs that were frozen during the COVID-19 crisis. But we expect inflation to go back to the central bank target of 3% by the beginning of 2026.